Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kishore Vallabhneni. Welcome to today's webinar. On behalf of Sparity, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us. Part of sales team here at Sparity, and I have the pleasure of hosting today's webinar on building an operational cloud data warehouse in 15 days. I have with me Pradeep Marupati. He heads our data engineering practice at Sparity. He would be sharing his views on the importance of data management and industry best practices for data warehousing. He has more than 12 years of experience in consulting, big data analytics, data engineering with domain expertise in banking and capital markets industry verticals. He's a thought leader in the enterprise data domain and implemented a number of warehousing projects. Welcome, Pradeep.
Yeah. Thank you, Kishore. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. So as part of today's session, we are going to cover aspects of modern data engineering. We are going to look into how cloud platforms help us in this regard. And later we go deep dive into what is data warehousing and what is some of the best practices that we are going to advocate in terms of reducing latency in executing these projects. Right. So hold on. So we are going to get into the actual topic in a while.
Great. Thanks, Pradeep. Before I get started, I just wanted to request everybody, as you come across any questions, I would request all of you to enter them into the question box inside the Teams control panel. We will address all your questions towards the end of the webinar. Now, just another 30 seconds in introduction to who we are. Sparity is a 10-plus-year-old company. We are actually celebrating our 10th year serving our customers with excellence now, in this month. And we provide a number of services, and we are headquartered here in Atlanta, along with our locations in Denver, Colorado, Australia, and India. Sparity, we provide primarily 4 distinct services. We provide digital transformation, QA, along with data and analytics, cloud infrastructure services, and security being the 4th one. We have been working with a number of our customers in both nearshore, onshore, and offshore in several different engagement models. So we would be very much willing to engage with any one of you who would like to give us an opportunity. And we look forward to having an opportunity to have a conversation with your problem or anything that you might have to. Moving along, Pradeep, I wanted to ask you from your perspective. I keep hearing in the market space several different terms in terms of big data, data engineering. Can you share some insights in terms of what is data engineering, big data?
Sure, Kishore. So before we go ahead into the actual topic for today, so let's look at the current state of data engineering industry. Right, these stats that you see on the screen, right, they more or less summarize there's a great opportunity out there in terms of integrating various data sources, various types of data engineering projects. But they also emphasize that so most of the companies are not able to take these projects to a later stage, right? They are not able to implement them successfully, right? There are a lot of challenges associated with them. So during the course of today's webinar, we'll try to address some of these challenges. So in what ways you can come up with your solutions so that you will not encounter these problems as such, right? With that in mind, so let's first look into what really this modern data engineering is, right? So data engineering is there for ages, right? So traditionally, the core objective was to integrate various structured data sources into, let's say, central data warehouse using traditional ETL tools. So that was more or less the process followed for a number of years, and the people might have built some standard reports on top of it. So that's how it was used earlier. But in the modern era, so it's much more than this. People are using data engineering, right, in terms of integrating all types of data sources, not only structured, so it's also unstructured, semi-structured, so whatever type that you want to call and whatever source that you want to call, right? So you have to integrate all of these types of sources into some scalable data warehouses on top of emerging technologies like cloud, and then you need to have a variety of skills in order to achieve this type of exercise, right? Previously, let's say having data architects, good data modelers, right, good DBMS guys was enough in terms of creating a warehouse, because that's what was needed. But right now, with the advent of so many architectures, so many platforms, you need to have flexible guys, right, who can develop data pipelines for you, who can write complex data transformations, right, who can use sophisticated BI tools. So these are the guys that you need in terms of enabling modern data engineering in your company, right? So the data landscape has completely changed. It's not structured data anymore, right? So you need to work with all types of data. So predominantly it has become multiple petabytes rather than multiple terabytes, even when you talk about simple data warehouse, right? That's the stage that we are living in, right? So data patterns like data lakes and data warehouses, these are the structures that enable that, those are the pillars of modern data engineering, right? Let's quickly weigh into data lake versus data warehouse dilemma that the industry is having right now. So when I say data lake, right, so more or less you are talking about huge amount of data in its natural state, right, in its natural format. You are not transforming the data, you're not filtering the data, you're not processing the data. You're talking about how the data is generated at its source, right? And then now you want to put all of the data in some place, some storage, right? So that is what is data lake about, right? It's not a complicated phenomenon. You're just putting all of the data in one place in its natural state. The purpose for the data may or may not be defined at this point of time, right? So the use case may come later. Your data scientists, ML engineers in company, they might want to explore this data later. So when they want to explore, probably data engineers in your company, they'll be asked to get this data for them, and they have to, let's say, extract the data from this huge pool of data in data lake, transform it and give it to the data scientist according to the use case. So that's generally data lake. Right now, what's the data warehouse? So as you know, data warehouse is a central repository of structured data, which is already filtered, processed, and modeled for a very specific purpose. Right? Companies might have already been using data warehouse for their BI reporting, real-time dashboards, right? Real-time analysis of the data. So data warehouse is right now. Data lake is for future. So that's how the industry is treating the phenomena right? So more or less all the differences that we have covered in the slide emphasize on this point, right? With respect to difference in types of data ingestion process and all that. But I want to emphasize more towards some of the common myths people are having about data lakes and data warehouses. So what are they? So some of the organizations that we speak to, they think either they should go for data lake or data warehouse, right? So that's a misconception that they have. So like I've talked about, even though both are data storage solutions, so some companies may need both of them because the purpose of data lake and purpose of data warehouse is different, right? If your company has both structured data and unstructured data, right? And if you want to use some of that right now and some of that later, you don't want to model some of that later, then you have to build an integrated data lake with a warehouse, right? So in that case, you need to build both of them rather than having one of them. That's one of the myths, right? Second one, people think data lakes are niche because they have come recently. All the cloud platforms are boasting they have state of the art data lakes. That's why they think they are niche. But when you actually look at it, right, so data warehouses are much more sophisticated because they host dimensionally modeled data, sophisticated data. Data lakes, we are just dumping the data into them. You again have to transform the data to make it usable. So that's a common myth again. Right, the final myth that I want to cover here. So data warehouse, people think data warehouse is easy compared to data lake. Again, so if you're from the industry, you understand building a data warehouse is a comprehensive process, right? There are a lot of manual steps involved, especially if you want to go for dimensional models from relational models. That's going to be a huge exercise, right? In terms of data lake, you can simply integrate with your sources using simple pipelines and you can create a data lake. Right? These are the things that you need to have some clarity of before we go ahead with the other aspects of this presentation.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thanks for sharing that insight on data lake and data warehouse. I wanted to ask you a question around how companies have been leveraging both of these solutions. Companies have different objectives in designing their data storage solutions based on what their business needs are. And based on your experience, what do you think should they create a data lake or a data warehouse, which is the right way to do?
Sure, Kishore. Actually, I'll try to explain your question with few of the case studies that we have serviced our clients with. Right. So the first case study
that would help, Pradeep. If you could use a referential case study, I think that would give a better perspective to everyone that has joined the webinar to understand and have a better appreciation.
Sure, Kishore. I'll try to throw some light on it. Yeah. So the first case study that I want to talk about today is from a brokerage firm. So it's one of our clients, and the company has presence in multiple geographies. So their data scattered across various geographies. Their sales data present in different countries. So along the journey, they have acquired few companies as well. So those companies again came up with their own sales databases and sales data sets. So this whole siloed data has made the process of coming up with a whole and soul sales strategy for the company very complex, right? So the company wanted to have a single version of truth so that they want to properly come up with sales strategies. So when they have approached us with this problem, right? So we have understood most of this data is structured, right? So they have various databases like SQL database, a DB2 Oracle in different places, but most of them is structured. So in that case, we have suggested them to create an enterprise-wide data warehouse, right? Rather than going for fancy data lake and all that. So we can directly do a warehouse. Just we need to create a canonical model, right? So when I talk about canonical model, basically it is like unifying all the data sources and come up with a common data model, right? Which will have entities which will be mapped back to all the source systems that we have across geographies. So once we have figured out the canonical model, it will be easy. You can simply deploy the canonical model in your warehousing platform. So in this case, we have gone for Azure. We have used SQL Azure warehouse, right? And then we have mapped it back to the source systems and built a pipeline to load the data into this warehouse. So that's when we have gone for a data warehouse as opposed to a data lake. Now let's look at the other end of the spectrum. So now there's a digital marketing firm, right? So they have a presence in various social media platforms and third-party websites, right? So their problem statement was, so they were generating a lot of data on these platforms. Now they don't want to use this data right away, right? They want to have some low-cost storage in order to store this data so that their data scientists may want to use this data at later point of time. So in that case, what we have suggested is instead of again going for comprehensive a cloud mechanism, we can simply build a cloud data lake within no time. So we have used AWS S3 in this case because clients systems more or less are present on AWS. So what we have done is we have quickly built AWS S3 data lake and then started dumping all of this data through a data pipeline we have created in AWS, right? And we have archived some of these files also using AWS Glacier service. So that is slightly less costlier than AWS S3 itself. So that way we have created a low cost data lake storage solution for this client, right? So this is data lake as opposed to data warehouse that we have created for client one. Now there's a middle use case. So there's a healthcare client, right? So they have a website and they are selling their healthcare products online, right? And a lot of prospective leads are visiting the websites, but they are not able to convert a lot of them, right? So the marketing team has this challenge of understanding why people are not getting converted. So they have approached us with this problem statement. So what we have suggested them is we have asked them to track a lot of different variables with respect to who is visiting their website in the first instance through log files, right? What pages they are visiting, what products that they are looking at, right? And till which point they're scrolling on a web page, right? And whether they are adding the product to the cart and abandoning. All of these type of data points are configured into their log files, right? So once we have that log in place, right? So we have created a data lake, right? To dump all these log files periodically so that we can actually extract meaningful information from these log files and put it into data warehouse in a structured entity. Let's say client entity. So where people can build some BI solution on top of it to understand the demographics of the client, so at which point they're leaving the website and all that. So that was quite useful for the client in terms of understanding why people are not buying, and they have changed the structure of the website itself in order to solve the problem. So that's when they've seen some useful results. So once you understood the difference between lake and a warehouse and when you want to go for it. So the next big term in the industry is cloud. So it's not a buzzword anymore, right? So people have already moved to cloud. So if not, people are moving to the cloud right now, right? The graphic on the screen is emphasizing that fact. So it's from TDWI, famous research organization in the data domain. So if you look at all the stats, right, they're clearly indicating, right, most of the people are trying to move to the cloud in next 3 years. So why it has become a new normal? Because technical users really love it. The cloud comes with a lot of advantages, right? You have speed, scale, right? You don't have to maintain the infrastructure. It is automatic. Scaling is automatic. Distribution is automatic, right? So and replication is automatic. So there are so many features that technical users love about cloud. So even the business people in a company, right? So they are also drawn to it because it is less costly. So that business people love about it, right? And it also enables self-service analytics, right? So you don't have to know the coding, complex coding and stuff to analyze the data. You have tools like Power BI, Tableau today. With few clicks, you can generate complex reports and analyze the data on the cloud itself. So both when technical and business users love it, obviously people will go for cloud platforms rather than having on-premise data basis, right? But so considering all this, right? So you still need to keep in mind, okay, what cloud brings to your company versus what it does not bring. What considerations that you have in mind if you want to move to cloud, right? So the first one and the most important one. So first you need to improve your data while moving to the cloud. Don't just lift and shift your data, right, into cloud. So it's not like just dumping there, right? You have to have some usefulness for the data. Why you are investing on cloud, right? Why you are investing on the storage to put the data over there. It's not because everyone is doing it. You need to have some usefulness for the data. So to uncover that usefulness, you need to improve it, enrich it, cleanse it, then put it onto the cloud, right? And then probably it should be business user friendly as well, right? Don't just put a lot of tools, right, architectures into your cloud platform, which only technical people can handle, right? Nowadays, so everything has become self-service. It has to be very, very easy to be able to navigate the cloud solutions. Even business people should have access to self-service tools so that they can do their job effectively, right? And one cloud platform. So this has become a norm now because all the cloud platforms are trying to become self-sufficient, right? They have their own set of tools which will cater to each and every step of data engineering projects. Even when you talk about data warehousing, creating data lakes, are doing data transformations, ETL. So everything is available in a single cloud now. They have their own proprietary tools. So when you have such a facility available, so don't move between clouds. You don't build your solution in multi-clouds, right? Because the flow between your data, the transition and all that will be very effective if you're using a single cloud platform. That will reduce a lot of latency as well, right? So when you're designing your solution on cloud, right, opt for modern architecture versus your traditional. Just don't go for simple ETL where you extract and put it onto the cloud, right? So think of modern architectures, think of scalability, flexibility, how you can dynamically change the schema of your solution, let's say, right? how do you want to map your source to target? So all of that has to be very modern. So once you have decided, let's say, to move to cloud, so what's the scope of data warehousing? So how do you want to create a data warehousing project on cloud, right? So let's talk about typical data warehousing lifecycle, right? Before we go deep into, okay, what's the problem with data warehousing projects and how do we overcome these challenges? Let's first look at how companies try to implement these projects, right? So it always starts with requirement definitions. So the requirement definition has to come from business. So this is very, very important. Business has to define why we need data warehouse in our company. So what is the use case for it? What are the business drivers? Then try to execute the whole project along these business drivers. Don't just create a data warehouse for the sake of it, right? So once you have decided to create a warehouse, once you have identified a use case for the warehouse, so next step, so the warehouse building will happen in 3 streams. The first stream generally we call it as technical stream. So that is where your technology architects come into picture. So they'll try to come up with an overall architecture for your data warehouse and try to figure out the existing architecture of all the data sources. So what databases they are built on and how do you connect those databases to future architecture, right? Where do you fit in ETL tool, right? How do you come up with a comprehensive data warehouse and a cloud? So all this will go into your technical architecture design, right? So once you have some design in place, then probably you will look for various products that you will fit into this design, right? Which storage solution that I want to use, whether I want to use Redshift, whether I want to use Snowflake as my storage solution, that you will decide in the second step. Which ETL tool that you will go for, right? Which transformation tool that you want, which cloud platform will you go for? Probably the most important decision making point, whether you want to go for Azure, whether you want to go for AWS, if Azure, why, what is it bringing onto the table? So all those questions will be answered in the product selection stage, right? That's sort of going into the technical stream, but parallelly we also have to do modeling, right? So the data modelers will come in the second stream, right? They will try to understand source data, right? The architecture of the source data, the relational models, entities, all the relationships between them, right? Now they'll try to create a target model, right? Most of the data warehouses today host dimensional models because dimensional models will come up with their own advantages, right? In terms of generating quick reports, interactive reports, right? Summarization, aggregation, everything is possible because of dimensions and facts that we use, right? So now in the dimensional modeling phase, we'll try to convert these relational models into star or snowflake schemas nowadays, right? And then make it ready for physical design. So once we have logical model in the physical design, we'll actually try to create physical structures out of it, right? That involves your security, right? What indexes that you want to put on for entities, right? What partitions, aggregations, replication, whatever you want to put in the actual physical implementation, right? Now you have technical architecture ready as well as your models ready. So next step, go for ETL, right? You need to think of an ETL tool which can actually extract the data from your source and put it into a target warehouse, right? In what format it will put? The physical design that you have come up with in the previous step. So you will deploy your physical design in your warehouse and you will configure your ETL with source and you write some procedures in ETL so that it will transform the data into target format and put it into a warehouse. So this is sort of standard architecture that we follow in the industry, right? Now let's try to imagine this on top of a cloud, right? Let's say you're doing it on cloud. So this sort of reference architecture where we have data sources on the left hand side, right? ETL in the middle, and then we have data storage on top of which we are going to define our reporting and BI tools, right? So again, pretty much standard. But the point I want to drive home here is nowadays, so we have cloud solutions like Azure and AWS. So they are quite self-sufficient. They have their own set of tools for each and every stage that we have defined above, right? So if you talk about Azure, so it has a tool called Data Factory. So it's an ETL tool where you can define the steps of your ETL flow using simple drag drop features. You don't have to really code. You can simply select, OK, this is a source attribute in my source system. This will map to this attribute in my target. So like that, you can define the mapping like the business rules that you define in a document. You will not write any code for it. The tool will generate the code in the background, right? So it has Power BI data flows as well, which does the same thing, right? So when you have ETL tool like this, also when you done with ETL, So it has its own SQL data warehouse where you can put the data into, actual data into, load into, right? On top of which you can create an integrated Power BI solution using which you can analyze the data and come up with exploratory data use cases. So now if you look from start to end, everything can be achieved on Microsoft Azure itself without using third-party tools like Talent for ETL, let's say Snowflake as a warehouse, a Tableau as a reporting tool. So that's the primary shift that the industry is taking now. Don't go for lot of tools, third-party tools. Go for cloud proprietary tools because they work seamlessly with the storage and computation arms of that cloud. Right? Similarly, you can go for Amazon AWS as well. So even AWS has its own proprietary set of tools. So it has AWS Glue and Kinesis in ETL, right? Working with structured data as well as streaming data. So it has Redshift, its own warehousing architecture. So these tools will be all will be connected using AWS data pipelines. If you want to bring a proprietary tool for BI and reporting as well, AWS has QuickSight. So using all these proprietary tools, basically you can build on a single cloud itself. So this is what we are trying to advocate for our clients. So don't waste your time in terms of selecting complex tools. Try to integrate various tools from different platforms together to build a cloud solution. Try to use proprietary tools as much as possible so that it will be easy to implement. Right. Nice. So now,
I was just saying, Pradeep, I think listening through the challenges in implementing successful data warehouses, I also have witnessed talking to several customers of ours who have implemented or are in the process of implementing these data warehousing storage solutions. And I just wanted to get your perspective on what is your take on why should somebody implement data warehouse?
Sure, Kishore, I'll try to address your point. So I want to just talk about the challenges as well. Along with it, I'll try to answer your point so that people will be able to connect it to it better. Right. So
sure.
What are the actual challenges that companies face while they implement these sort of solutions? Right. Time to value. Right. So you build data warehouse today and you will get value, let's say, down the line. So it may not go well with your business people. So they generally want to realize the ROI immediately. Right. That is one challenge that you have to address. So it may get complex, as in if you have a lot of different data sources in your company scattered across, right, different data formats, if to combine all of them and integrate into one particular solution, it may get really complex at times. Right. So the performance. So this is an interesting challenge that people are facing right now. Because previously the data that we are dealing with is pretty much standard. It was not growing rapidly, but right now the data scales rapidly, right? The kind of solution that you have imagined in mind, let's say you have built a real-time dashboard for a project, right? With keeping, let's say, terabytes of data in mind. So the same solution may not work well with petabytes of data in real time. So you need to increase the performance. You need to really take care of your performance objectives. So you need to choose the right platform as well, as in you need to choose which cloud solution that you want to go for, right? Whether you want to go for data virtualization, self-service BI, you want to go for SQL or no SQL. Again, a challenge. It's a good challenge to have, but it's still a challenge if you are really not sure about which tools to use, right? So data quality, again, important challenge. So you have to move data somewhere, but you should not lose the quality of it. You should really ensure it. You should have data governance mechanism in place to ensure the quality, right? So it is obviously costly because it is time consuming and complex exercise. So for some business users, they feel this is too costly of exercise to implement in an organization. But so even considering all of these implementation challenges in mind, right? So like Kishore said, a lot of different organizations are still going for it. So why do they go for it? Because so the kind of benefits that we get out of a data warehouse really outweigh the costs or challenges associated with it, right? So if you look at the most important benefits, right, the business may get out of it. So first one, so generally in case of on-prem data warehouse, we'll have static reporting. So but when you have comprehensive warehouse and cloud, the reporting will become interactive, right? So you can have live dashboards to play with, drill down into the data, explore the data. All of that is possible right now because of cloud-based data warehouses, right? And it's single source of truth as well, right? So you are not getting siloed data here. Let's say if you're talking about marketing data, it's present in CRM databases, if it's present in web analytics, mobile analytics, right? So you don't want to look at the data in various places, right? You want to have a unified version of the data in one single repository. So that data warehouse will give that picture to you, right? It is quite fast as well because of the cloud technologies, the scaling, the performance, everything is taken automatically on the background. Right, the return on investment nowadays, right? So people have come up with various strategies in terms of how to calculate ROI and a data warehouse. So one of the examples that we quote is, let's say you define some metrics. Why are you creating warehouse? You define some business use cases. Let's say one of the use cases is reducing the current attrition percentage, right? Create the sort of data to back your use case and explore the use case with various tools. Right? Once you have warehouse, once you have explored the use case, now again calculate the attrition percentage in future. Now compare your future attrition percentage to pre-data warehouse attrition percentage. So the difference that you get will translate into your ROI. That is one example. So if you have multiple metrics, multiple business objectives like this, then your ROI will probably increase exponentially. So that is another area people will keenly look into before investing into data warehouse, right? So basically, if you invest in a data warehouse, it enables you to come up with a culture which is data driven, right? The decision making, that stakeholders of the company, right? So those decisions will be based on data rather than empirical evidence, right? So that's probably all of these benefits put together really outweigh, right, the challenges that we have covered in the previous slide, as well as the costs associated with the data warehouse, right? So now if you want to really go ahead and build a data warehouse, so what are the best practices, some of the best practices that you can look at? So these are the practices that we have come up with for implementing solutions for our client, right? So you may not feel the benefit of these practices individually. If you implement, let's say, only 0.1 and 0.3 in a particular project, you may not realize it individually. But when you implement this in tandem with the business objective of the client and what client is trying to achieve. Let's say if the client wants to achieve reduced latency, probably you'll go for 1 to 5, right? Combination of some of these best practices will make sense for them, right? So first, let's try to look at these practices, right, individually, and then we'll go ahead and look at a comprehensive case study where we have used all of these case studies, all of these best practices to reduce the latency of a project. So first one talks about use Kimball approach instead of Inman approach. So if you are familiar with Kimball approach, it basically stresses the importance of data marts. So if you're not sure about data mart, so you can think of it like this, right? So let's say your data warehouse is a water tank with 1,000 liter capacity, right? And your data mart will be a 1 liter water bottle that you will package out of your data warehouse. So it's nicely packaged and ready to use, right? So in case of Kimball approach, we are not going to build that 1,000 liter water tank first. We are not going to put all of that effort first, right? We'll try to build this 1 liter water bottles first. These are called data marts, business use cases. Based on the important business use cases, we'll build the marts first. Then combination of these marts will in future will become a centralized data warehouse. So this is quick, at the same time effective. So when you talk about Inman approach, so they talk about first creating a centralized warehouse. So we have seen the warehousing life cycle, right? So we need to go through a lot of stuff. There's technical architecture, there's dimensional modeling, physical design, ETL, deployment. So if you go for Inman approach, you have to do each and every step of it and then probably lag behind Kimball based data warehouse. But obviously, if you have a use case where you need to have a comprehensive data warehouse as opposed to data marts, then you should really go for Inman approach. Right. Second thing that we have suggested to our clients, use ELT. Right. ETL is dead. So if you want to go with traditional way, like extract all of the data, right, put the data into a staging area, probably do 1 or 2 types of transformations on staging data, staging 1, staging 2, right? Then once you have data in the right format, load it into the warehouse. So this is standard ETL. So there's too much delay in terms of getting your data to the warehouse in this process, right? Eliminate all the staging steps, right, in the initial attempt. So try to go for ELT, which really talks about load the data into a warehouse first, then try to transform the data whenever you want to analyze it, whenever there is a use case for certain part of the warehouse, right? Only then you transform the data and create a data mart out of it. So that way initial latency will be eliminated. So you can use one cloud platform and proprietary tools. I've covered this in the reference architecture part as well. So let's say we are talking about Azure cloud over here. So this sort of reference architecture, right? You have sources, then your data factory, which is a proprietary tool on Azure itself, which can act as ETL. You can configure data factory with your sources, right? And then map it to other parts of your data pipeline, like Azure Databricks, which enables high speed processing, right? Once your processing is done, probably you can put into Synapse Analytics, central warehouse, using which Power BI will be connected and data will be analyzed through Power BI use cases. If you want to put your unstructured data as well, you can use Azure Data Lake storage in the same pipeline. So all of these tools are proprietary to Azure. At the same time, they work effectively with each other. So in this case, better to go for one cloud platform rather than having, let's say, your data warehouse on Azure and data lake on AWS. So don't really do it unless until you have a clear use case for it. So there are some other best practices as well. Let's go through them quickly. So fourth one, avoid coding. So again, if you have tools where you can achieve the functionality using drag drop as opposed to coding, go for it, because so you don't have to maintain the code, version the code, maintain all that headache first, and it can be implemented faster as well. And fifth point, so use automation models for your dimensional modeling, right? So in a data warehousing lifecycle, right? So probably dimensional modeling takes most of the time because that's a complex exercise, right? You really need to understand the structure of the data, relationships between the entities to come up with dimensions and facts and then map it to target, right? Create the source to target mappings, right? In this process, if you can automate at least part of this dimensional modeling, right? There has to be a tool which has to take your source data dictionaries as an input, probably will give you 70 to 80% of the dimensional model. What are the dimensions and facts that you need to create? So wouldn't that be great? 80% of your work is already done. Now you need to put the delta 20% of the work on top of this and quickly finish off the dimensional model, right? We'll be talking about our proprietary accelerator in this area, what accelerator that we have built in order to help companies to create dimensional models in a quicker manner, right? So finally, you need to look at the right implementation partner as well. Most of the companies may not have all the resources that are needed in order to execute the entire data warehousing lifecycle. So you may need some specific skill set, like usage of cloud, usage of ETL on the cloud, warehouse on the cloud, and then Power BI integrated with it. So these are costly resources and expensive as well. So difficult to hire and difficult to manage the hiring process. In that case, go for implementation partner who is equipped with this, right? Who has vast amount of talent pool, who can execute any type of project, right? So considering all these best practices in mind, so you can design your data warehousing projects efficiently and make sure you do not waste a lot of time in order to just come up with the solution itself. So now, great, considering all this in mind, right? So let me talk about a cloud data warehouse that we have built for a client in 15 days. Now, when I say we have built a warehouse in 15 days, just don't take that very seriously, because the objective of the client is very different here. So they were really, client marketing was really struggling in order to improve ROI and their existing marketing expenses, because their marketing was done through various channels like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So data is there in silos in a lot of different places. So they had to immediately, right, analyze this data and come up with some strategies in order to reduce or eliminate the earlier trends. So that's when they have approached us. So what they have asked us is we need something very quickly, right? So that is when we have taken it as a challenge and we have built the initial version of data warehouse in 15 days. So let me talk about what we have done, and probably towards the end, I'll tell you how you other organizations can also leverage this sort of approach, right? To start off with, we have identified the most important use cases for this sort of client, right? Let's say if they have told us most important use cases for the amount of money that they have invested. So they need to understand how many impressions that the ad has generated and how many leads that impressions have generated and how many conversions that have happened through leads, right? In a single system, it will be straightforward. Probably the attribute names will also be straightforward. But if you combine multiple systems in place here, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, proprietary CRM tools, right? Then you need to combine all of these data sources to create this use case, right? First, we have identified three such use cases, most prominent use cases that can immediately affect client revenue, right? So once we have identified the use cases, we have mapped it back with the source entities present in the various systems. Then we have quickly come up with a canonical model and deployed the model in the cloud, right? During the analysis phase, we took around 6 days, use Kimball approach, the data mart approach, where we use business cases, right? Once we have a canonical model in place, we have used our proprietary tool ZeroDML. It's called as a zero knowledge data modeling tool. So that takes your relational data model as an input and use a combination of common data model developed by Microsoft Azure, SAP and Adobe, right? And then some industry standard mapping techniques, pattern matching techniques. This tool will try to semi-automate your dimensional modeling exercise. 70% of the work, a mapping, source to target mapping will be done by this tool. So rest 30% you can do it on top of it. So that's how we have completed the design phase in 3 days itself. Then we have built this data warehouse on Azure. So we have used data factory tool of Azure. So where we have quickly used drag drop features in order to map these pipelines into the Azure cloud itself, and then implemented it and made the data pipelines live within 3 days again. After that, client was able to use the first data mart in 15 days itself. So they have hooked their reporting tools and they have analyzed the data according to their advantage. So this was quick operationalization based on some of the best practices that I've communicated earlier. We have used Kimball here. We have used automation tool here. We have used drag and drop tool here without coding, right? We have used one single cloud platform Azure. So this is how probably you can operationalize your data warehouse in a quicker time rather than worrying about all the fancy tools that are available in the market. So this is what I wanted to cover in today's webinar. So talked about what data engineering is really about, right? And then we have talked about cloud platforms, data warehousing, what are some of the most important challenges associated with them. And then we have talked about the best practices that we can bring in order to implement these for you. As well, I've talked about Apex client case study where we have used these approaches in order to quickly build an operational warehouse. With that, we communicate this. So we have a comprehensive data engineering practice at Sparity. We provide all types of services in modern data engineering world. So we start with consulting and we execute through implementation. So in the consulting phase, we do data maturity assessments, data consolidation strategies, your roadmaps for EDWs. We'll provide comprehensive reports, right? Once we have consulting in place, we do designing of the solutions as well. We can build pipelines, data lakes, come up with architectures, right? NoSQL, SQL, different cloud platforms. We are equipped with all of them. If you want us to implement, we can also implement and maintain the solutions as well. So our folks are equipped with variety of tool knowledge, so they can work on both Azure and AWS. They can work as various storage solutions, top storage solutions like Hadoop, Oracle, HBase. So if you want fast processing through Apache Spark, we are well equipped with designing solutions on Spark, Databricks. So if you want us to work on third-party ETL tools like Talent, Informatica, we have folks for that as well. So with that in mind, so I'm handing it over to Kishore.
Hey Pradeep, thank you so much for sharing that. Let's see if we have any questions. Give me 1 second. I do see one question with respect to how can somebody engage Sparity within the data engineering space, and what type of services do you guys provide in that space?
Yeah, sure. So I have, like I've covered in this slide. So we have a talent pool which encompasses all the latest technologies that are there in the data engineering world right now. So we have folks for all cloud technologies like Azure, AWS, GCP. If you want to engage with us, you can reach out to our sales team. So they'll try to get in touch with the technology team and arrange a call between us. So we'll try to understand your requirement and see what's the phase that we need to execute for you, whether we want to go for consulting versus design, or we want to go for quick operationalization. That depends on the type of objective that you have, but we do cover end-to-end tool set as well as a process skill set in order to execute any type of data engineering project.
There is an extension, Pradeep, in terms of, do you also support ETL? You also mentioned ELT. So do you support both, and what is your preference?
So we do support both ETL and ELT. See guys, ETL tool itself will do the functionality of ELT. So we are not changing the tool here. We are just changing the processing steps inside the tool. So it's a best practice. Not that the tool will change or the knowledge or technical knowledge will change. So we can do both ETL and ELT, but we prefer ELT for quick operationalization of data warehouse, because that it reduces a lot of latency with respect to data transformations that we have to execute in between.
Pradeep, I have one more question from the aspect of, you mentioned a number of custom tools for each of the cloud environment to be used. The question is, are there any specific tools that Sparity has that works with the cloud environment? And are there any accelerators, if you could talk about that?
Sure, Kishore. So I have mentioned in the operationalization of cloud data warehouse in 15 days. So we have our proprietary accelerator called ZeroDML. So that works with any cloud technology out there right now. It's sort of pre-cloud, right? So it works during dimensional modeling phase. So it will try to semi-automate your dimensional modeling exercise to reduce lot of manual effort. It will give you target state data models that you can go and deploy in any cloud data warehouse like SQL data warehouse in Azure or Redshift in AWS. So you can integrate them with any of the cloud. So that will most of the time reduce 20 to 30% of your overall project execution time for data warehousing.
Okay, I have one more question from which cloud platform do you prefer for building a data warehouse, AWS versus Azure? And it may be why?
Yeah, so that's a difficult one. As I've worked with both of these cloud technologies over a period of time, I can say both of them are effective. Both of them are good in their own way. But if you ask me one, right, so I'll definitely prefer Azure, because in terms of data storage solution, so I myself, I'm an SQL background guy. So I feel quite flexible and at the same time easy to work with Azure technologies in order to build the data warehouse part. I'm not talking about Lake, but the data warehouse part, because SQL data warehouse itself works with seamlessly with structured data. So the way they have designed the flow between various tools, right, and the kind of flexibility data factory brings on Azure, definitely in my mind will definitely be better than AWS if you want to build a data warehouse.
I hope that answered the question. Pradeep, can you also talk about data quality? I think you mentioned one somewhere in the slide about data quality. I think the question is related to, do you guys provide data quality testing as well?
Yeah, sure, Kishore. So data quality is an ad hoc service, as in it's a process. So first we need to understand the kind of source data that they possess and what's the objective that they're trying to achieve in order to let's say map, let's say they want to map this to a target data structure, and then once they have mapped, let's say they have implemented some ETL and put the data into target data warehouse. Now, if they want to assess, let's say the data that is loaded into the data warehouse is proper or not, whether the quality of the data has changed or whether the quality decreased. So then definitely we can go ahead and do it. So the general mechanism that the industry follows is to through data use cases. You have to prepare source system data use cases first, right? So try to create various data use cases for different scenarios. So these are all the scenarios that your source system may encounter. Try to have few examples for each and every scenario. Now go and backtest with your target data warehouse, whether those in those scenarios, all of the data points from the source, right, is going in properly into the target. So that you can achieve by creating a predefined set of data use cases and testing it on data warehouse. So we have folks who have done that earlier. So we have done it for the clients that we have developed data warehouses, but we can also do it for other clients. But first we need to understand the architecture.
Thank you, Pradeep. There is one last question. Do you have or have you built any accelerators?
Yeah, so I have talked about ZeroDML, so that's the one that we have built. So most of the cloud solutions that we talk about, right? So it can be integrated with them, Kishore.
Well, I think that concludes all the list of questions that have been shared. I just wanted to give another minute for anybody if they have any other additional questions to type it in so we can address them. Pradeep, do you want to add anything while we are waiting for any last questions that are being typed in?
Yeah, sure. So
Before we...
one takeaway that I want you guys to have from this webinar. So even though data warehousing is a complex, time-consuming exercise, so the kind of benefits that we can create for a company based on the use cases, right? So that completely outweigh the challenges or costs associated with it if it is mapped properly. So try to define the business objective. If you are not sure, we can define it for you. So we can build the end-to-end solution for you and make the data warehouse a successful project in terms of both ROI realization at the same time effective utilization. So if you can give us a chance, we can work with you in terms of defining the roadmap and as well through the implementation. So
Great.
that's all I
Thank
had
you,
for today, Kishore. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Well, if there are no additional questions, I wanted to take this opportunity to again thank you to everyone for joining, and we really appreciate your time today, this afternoon. I hope we were able to provide some insights into the data warehousing space and some of the best practices in implementing them. Pradeep and I hope you all have some takeaways from our webinar, and we will upload this webinar to our website at www.sparity.com, and will be available for your future download or for your further review in future if you guys need to. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to send us an email at sales@sparity.com. That is sales@sparity.com. We will get in touch and we will try to address any questions or concerns you have in future. Thanks again for joining us today. Up until next time, you all have a nice Friday and a good weekend. Thank you.